Corrie's boss, Kate Oates, who announced last week that she's stepping down after 2 years. This storyline this morning, we have been overwhelmed by people saying thank you for doing this storyline because it's hugely important. You think over 80 people, if that was anything else, they would be out, don't you think?
Completely. I think that if this was a regular disease, we'd be lobbying governments, we'd be lobbying scientists to find a cure, we'd all be in fear that someone we loved was going to be next. So that's why it's so important to talk about it, because it affects so many people. And when we were discussing this storyline and whether or not we wanted to tackle it, initially we were quite reticent and anxious. And the more we talked about it, it became apparent that everybody around that table had been affected by suicide in one way or another.
Right.
And when you think it's affected all of us, it's touched all of us on such a personal level, shouldn't we be discussing this? So that's kind of what made it a bit of a no-brainer, really.
The thing about Corrie is you do the research, it's always well written, beautifully acted, as it always is, and it's got to be believable.
Yeah.
And that's what's so important about this, because this has come out of a very slow-burning character who's been in a bad place for quite a while.
Yes.
But putting on an act, if you like.
Yeah. I think that what's interesting about this story and what I think makes it unique is that obviously suicide has been looked at by other soaps and serial dramas before, but inevitably we follow the journey of that character as they become more and more depressed. We see them maybe with the pills, we see them possibly make an attempt on their life, and then we see them pulled back from the brink.
Yes.
And actually what happens in most cases is that nobody knows what's going on behind this closed door.
There's
exactly,
no rescue.
but people hide it, and therefore when someone doesn't come into work one day, everybody says, we never saw that coming. Families say, we never saw it coming. Friends say, we never saw it coming. And that's what can be so devastating, that people are left with without that opportunity where they could have helped if only the person who was suffering had spoken and said, please will someone listen to how I'm feeling right now? And that's what we wanted to reflect.
Exactly, because it's the aftermath of what will happen, because behind is all this guilt and confusion and grief and all of that, and that the impact that's going to have on all of the characters too.
Yes, we had a really interesting conversation yesterday. Calm have been helping us with the story, as have the Samaritans. And Simon from Calm was saying that for every suicide, 128 people are affected by that suicide. Wow. And within that, 9 people would consider taking their own lives as a result. So when you think of that ripple effect, it's so huge. And I think what's really reassuring, a really positive thing to take out of the storyline, is that once you start conversations, the power of talking is phenomenal. And once you've opened that door ever so slightly, and there are charities who want to listen to you, there are friends and family who want to listen to you, there is always someone who wants to listen to you, that once you've started that conversation, the change can be astronomical, and that's really, really important and really positive. There's a lot of positivity to come out of the story.
No, absolutely. We'll put, on our website, we'll put lots of helplines. I know that you will be doing exactly the same. Yeah. It is a storyline I absolutely welcome. Some of the darker ones, though, Kate, did you ever think, when fans were getting I'm a huge fan, but when they were getting expressing a little bit of disquiet, did you ever sort of think, oh, maybe I've just pushed it a wee bit too far now, or maybe or what did you think?
Well, it's an interesting one, because I still think that there's a balance in the show, and I realise, obviously, as you say, you're a fan, and if you feel that, that it's
some of them,
darker,
I must admit, I went away on holiday and I came back and there was a man in a sailor, and I kind of thought, what's going on?
I was like, okay,
what's happening? I'm confused. No, I was just confused.
Yeah, that's you can have that one. That's pretty dark. The Phelan story is pretty dark, but it's an arch story about a serial killer. So if you're going to tell any story about a killer, it's quite hard to not be dark. And whether that's Richard Hillman from, classic Corrie many years ago, beating someone to death with a crowbar is pretty dark.
That's true.
So I kind of think it's a different way of showing different kind of story beats within there. But yes, I think that there is balance, and other things I am proud of that have happened in the last couple of years. We've strengthened existing clans like the Barlows, making Ken central to that street again. It's been great to bring Peter back, Adam, Daniel. So,
Carla, you brought back Carla.
We love Carla. So, there is, in the block that we've got these suicide episodes, a few eps before, there is some of the best Corrie comedy I've seen in a really long time, which is Mary.
I love Mary.
Who doesn't love Mary?
I adore
Patty
Mary.
Claire is just off the scale.
Her comic timing is
amazing.
Perfect.
But her pathos is so brilliant as well. She can play great tragedy as well, because she's an amazing actor.
For sure.
So yeah, there's some great comedy coming up in those episodes.
Because what we don't want to sort of the pendulum to swing completely when you go, because I don't want Carry On Corrie.
No.
I really don't. I mean, you're absolutely right. It has to have that balance. I mean, that's the strength of Coronation Street, isn't it? That we do have that scene with Norris and Rita in the corner shop just chatting, and then there's something terrible happening too.
I think for me, kind of the best formula for Corrie, you want stories that matter and say something. You want good drama, and then you want classic Corrie elements within that as well. And that's kind of the holy trinity of what makes Corrie really, really strong. But, you know, we're 6 episodes a week now. And
don't know how you do it.
Well, really to be honest, I mean, and what's great is that there's more Corrie, but the ratings are higher.
Yeah.
So, although I understand people say, you know, this is quite dark and maybe this isn't for me, actually people aren't turning off. More people are turning on.
Sure.
And that I can't fail but be happy about that. I think the team have done a good job.
You're going out in a high.
But it means that, you know, with 6 episodes a week, there has to be constant drama, because for every cliffhanger, we have to bring somebody back. You know, when that episode finishes, we have to have people thinking, crikey, I need to know what happens next. And that's why, you know, the drama is pretty pacey at the moment. And I can see why for viewers who've watched it for a really, really long time, maybe when it was 2 or 3 episodes a week, and that pace could be gentler, that it probably feels like a bit of a culture shock. But I think it's just a natural move of the pace of storytelling.
Well, listen, we wish you all the best for your new project, which is very exciting.
So excited.
I know.
I get to work with Sarah Parish, so that's just the best news ever for me.
Class act. Kate, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.